No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, we're doing our holiday hacks for the year. We're talking about the top leadership videos as being watched by Generation Z on YouTube. And this is according to AI, as well as the research that we've done on our own. This is episode 8 in our 13-part series. And on this episode, we're going to be going over a video called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And at first glance, when I saw this video come up, I thought, you know, this is interesting that this is being watched as a leadership video or classified as a leadership video, because the video is a lot about, you know, the idea of, like, you know, getting up early. I see this from people on LinkedIn all the time where, like, I get up at 4 a.m. and I, you know, get my first workout in, and then I get my second workout in. It's the Andrew Huberman, you know, Chris Williamson club of, you know, taking all your athletic greens, and it's like all the stuff people have time to do who don't have work or kids when their work is this like kind of influencer lifestyle. And so I was a little kind of eye rolling at the beginning, but there are some really interesting leadership tie-ins here if you can get through it and realize why people may be watching videos like this who are, you know, current and aspiring leaders of Generation Z.
Yeah, I think for sure one of the things that I pulled from this and what I see overall is, like, there's a lot of appetite for kind of like structure and intent and routine for people around, like, how can I be as productive or as dialed in as possible. And I really think that for me, and we've shared on the podcast kind of our routines historically, but having kind of a way of making sure that you're in a space where you can do your best work when it comes to leading people, for me is kind of what I pull from it, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Where it's like, again, I'm with you. Like, you know, I have my routine. I'm an early riser. I don't live the influencer lifestyle, but I do appreciate the fact that there's, like, if you can get this done and you can kind of start your day this way, it will really help you maintain kind of productivity, maintain attention, and feel like you're getting much more accomplished throughout the day, because there's so much that you can accomplish before you even really start your work day that it becomes really helpful to feel like everything else on top of that is just kind of like extra productivity versus not having a routine, feeling like you woke up 10 minutes before you have to be to work, rolling into the job, and then trying to play catch up when you're there. I think that to me is kind of what I pull out of the content from the video.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the first thing you said about structure. You know, as a parent, I try to put routines in place for my kids because they do better with routines, as I think a lot of children do. But I think it's not just children. I think it's people. People do better with routines. And the reason why I think a lot of people kind of shy away from them or kind of, like, you know, think negatively about them is because they're not associating the routine or the structure with something that they put in place for themselves. They're associating it with not having autonomy over their own life because they're following a structure or a routine that was put in place for them. Hence, you know, the parent puts it in place for the child. You know, we've talked for a long time about the fact that autonomy is so important to a lot of people, and that the happiest employees are the ones who have more autonomy over their work. That doesn't mean that they don't want structure or routine, or that they won't thrive more under structure or routine. It means that they want to have control over what that structure or the routine is, or at least a lot of influence over it, but they will still do better with having one. And so this holds true throughout life. And so if you, a lot of the instruction in the video are ones that I just can't do. Like, just the idea of putting in place, you know, kind of following this to the letter, I look at and think, okay, this doesn't fit with my life. But that's not what it's about. It's not about following the exact structure that this video puts in place. It's about looking at what you can do to put a structure in place that does work for you, one that does allow you to fit this into your work life and your personal life and your family life and all the other things that matter. You know, the first thing the easiest way to kind of put something in place that will fail is to do exactly what this video says if it doesn't work with your life. But if you can think about where you can make changes to add a structure or a routine to your life that does work, you will start to feel a lot better about yourself. You'll start to feel a lot more productive. You'll start to be able to realize what you can accomplish. It will feed itself. It's the old, the college commencement speech of the military guy who says, make your bed first thing in the morning. And it's been played out to the point where it's almost cliche now, but substitute make your bed for something else then. Like, it doesn't have to be make your bed, but whatever it is, it needs to be. Like, put something in place that does work and hold yourself to it, because it's a characteristic of a good leader. If you can have your own kind of sense of order around your own life that you hold to, people are more likely to follow a leader or any person who has kind of that structure in place, because it bleeds into everything that you do, and it bleeds into it turns into a consistency with which you lead people. That just kind of, it doesn't stay with just the personal stuff you're doing in your life. People will see it from you in terms of like how you lead and how you work.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and I think that it's one of the things in the video they talk about is kind of like the 20-20-20 concept, and how and where do you spend that time. And to your point, like, you can read this and feel like it's a prescription of what you must do, or you can read this and watch this and be like, okay, this is a concept that I must grasp. I have to have more intention with how and where I spend my time. And again, the points of the video and what's being asked are not necessarily things like I agree with them for sure. But to your point, you may have a lifestyle or responsibilities or things that do not make this easy, and you have to figure out different ways to make it happen. And if you're really focused on the idea of being focused and not being distracted, and starting your day off with the ability to kind of just like be about you, I think that's really, really helpful. But again, that could play out different ways for different people.
Right. So a lot of this is about, obviously you have to have boundaries, right? You have to if you're going to have something in place like this, you have to have a boundary that you set for yourself, because it's better for you in the long term. And so I want to ask about boundaries, what the things that we set for ourselves in our own life to kind of help make this happen. But first, I want to give it word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo. So what's something that you do in your personal life that you do for you, that you really need, and you find that everything else is better if you can make sure you do this one thing when it comes to your work?
I think two things for me stick out immediately. Number one, it's listening to music at some point during the day, and my own music, whatever I'm choosing that day, whatever kind of the vibe is that I'm feeling. I think sometimes music that we grew up with or that means something to us can kind of resonate certain feelings. There's certain songs that for me make it like I just put me in a positive mindset. And then there are songs for me that like allow me to kind of get off, maybe some a little bit of feelings or frustration or whatever, and then be okay with it and kind of move on. But that's one of the things. And the number two, that I have creative time, that I pencil in time where I can just like be in my own creative thoughts. And people that know me know that I'm typically in some type of creative projects or multiple projects at the same time. But that for me is just dedicated time that I set aside to know that like I can just spend time in my creative space, because if I don't have that output, then it will distract me when I'm at work and thinking about work stuff. So like I need to know that I can take a quick note if I have a good idea of something I want to follow up on later, but that there will be a later. There will be a time for me to be able to be creative, to spend time being creative, and I'm not kind of distracted by that idea or the tons of floods of ideas that happen when you're in the middle of something that you should be doing when you're at work or on a call or something like that.
Yeah, those are great examples. For me, it's about learning something, and it used to be I used to put time aside to watch the news. I would always watch news, and I'd try to watch news from different sources, because I have like this kind of like internal kind of sensor that hears kind of a spin or a bias, and I think that's not the whole story there. So I'd try to find like different sources to kind of feel like I was getting the most amount of truth, and that worked for a while. But overall, it just started stressing me out more. So I would learn things, but it would put me in a bad mood, because no matter what I was watching, it would make me angry or stressed out about whatever it was, and I started to realize that was the goal, right? That was the goal of the things I was watching, was to get me angry so that I'm more likely to get involved. And so I cut that out completely, and I realized that what was really important to me was actually just learning something, feeling like I was, I had information today that I didn't have the day before. And so I started following a series of YouTube channels, like 3 or 4 YouTube channels that, between the 4 of them, there will be new content every day, at least in one of those places. And it's all like kind of like science-based, or like our world, the natural world, the scientific world, things that don't have any politics involved or any spin or any opinions. It's just kind of like fact-based stuff, and they're short videos, and I feel like I know more after I watch one than the time before, and just that puts me in the mindset of feeling like I've done something for myself, that I know something that I didn't know before, even if it never comes up again. So that one's really important to me. And then the second is my phone goes on like do not disturb, like no notifications except for like immediate family after about 7 o'clock at night, and I found that only once ever have I woken up the next day and seen an alert or something where I'm like, I really wish I'd have known about that, the previous night. Only one time, but it was fine. And the rest of the time, it completely is okay. And I'm glad that I am, kind of with my kids and my family. And that, I think it's so important. The number of times I'm at the park with my kids, or I'm somewhere and I see the other kids playing by themselves and the parents sitting there on a bench on their phone as opposed to like engaging with them. And I just think, that used to be me years ago, and it will never be me again. And so those 2 things I think are what's important to me. But again, everybody here needs to find what's important to them. It's not prescriptive, but the root of what they're talking about, I think there's a lot of benefit there. And if you're trying to be a good leader, again, your people will see this from you. What you can do to master your own life and the schedule or the routine that you put in place for yourself, your people will respect you more for having those things, and they will feel more like they have permission to have them for themselves. We've all had that leader who wears the badge of courage that says, I haven't taken a break in 7 years, and it's like, well, what does that, what that means? Your people think that they're not allowed to take a break either. That's what they think. Your people need to see you taking breaks. Otherwise, they will think that they can't either.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.